The participants are already here, yeah?
Yes.
The participants are already here.
Some of them.
Some of them, okay.
Okay, good afternoon to the participant. Welcome to the second day of our summer course, and hopefully you are enjoying the session. Today we will have a very important topic of internet and democracy, and later on with Pak Wija will be co-host with Professor Merlina Lim. Just before we start and while we waiting other participants to join this room, I'd like to invite you to give some talk about your response about the first day of our summer course. What is new and maybe what is important that the point that you got from the first day of our summer course. I will ask Pak Ali Nur Alizen, please. Any comment about our topic in the first summer course?
Okay, thank you, Mr. Gulam. I'm very excited for this course, the summer course. I found some new data from this summer course because from this agenda, I get some new perspective for to writing some resume in my research, especially that collaborate by University of Amsterdam, and by collaborating between many institute, many program here. I especially have information from in other institute, like for LP3S, that give the information about outlook of democracy, and then from SafeNet that give the data about democracy regression and about security in about security in Indonesia, that cut the independent of in public sphere to some people, to some activism, and give the data for us. And it's so beautiful and so good for the data to make me get some yes perspective for my to writing my resume in my research. Thank you so much, Mr. Gulam.
Okay, thank you, Mas Ali. Yeah, I hope that since we come from different range of background, but maybe we have some interest on how to deepening the knowledge on digital or internet as well as politics. I think we can fit one another in this summer course, and hopefully on the future we can make some collaborative project, or maybe between the participant. Hopefully on the future Pak Wija will design a breakout room so all of the participants can have some interaction as well as discussion, and maybe a project for the last of the summer course. Thank you, Mas Ali. And next I will invite our fellow Dr. Made Soekartini.
Yes, Bapak. I'm
Yes.
sorry because I'm in the office, so
Yeah.
I have to wearing masker.
Yeah.
Thank
It's okay.
you.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you for give me the opportunity to participate in this summer course. I really appreciate because I really want to learn more from the college, from the political science. I am from economics.
Yeah.
I studied political economics last 20 years ago, and recently Faculty of Economics try to develop again the subject of political economic. I interest that we in economic recently still consider about just cost of democracy in terms of how much the government need to spend to support the democratic process in Indonesia. So when I saw there is a summer course regarding the role of internet, repression economic, this is something new for me. That's why I want to participate more and learn from the college here. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Made.
Perhaps,
So,
Pak Gulam,
yes.
perhaps we want to hear the experience from our fellow from other country as well. I
Okay.
noticed
Yeah.
that there is Marielle Marchaida here. Are you
Yes.
with us?
Hello, hello, sir.
Yeah.
Hello, how are you?
Good afternoon, and thank you very much for allowing us to participate in this summer course. I'm very interested in the debates, internet debates to be discussed this session. So truly looking forward to it. So thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah, I think you're from Philippines. Is it correct?
Yes, sir. Yes,
Okay.
I'm a junior academic from the Philippines.
Okay, are you if I may know, are you a scholar, a student, or a researcher, or an activist?
Currently, I'm an assistant professor at the Department of Political Science of the University of the Philippines, Diliman, and I'm currently doing research on political participation in social media. So definitely this summer course would expand my knowledge about internet and politics.
Yes, very interesting. So if we may learn from you, how is the experience in Philippines with regard to the internet based on perhaps your study or your research so far? Is it supporting or discouraging democracy?
Right now, the current dominant topics in Philippine politics and new media would focus on the rise of trolls manipulating public opinion, especially during elections. And with the rise of President Duterte in 2016, that has been very evident. And actually, for the past 6 years of this administration, we would see the prevalence of trolls in social media, in Twitter and Facebook. So we are very much interested in the upcoming 2022 elections if that same trend would continue. And what's interesting is that there are rumors, speculations that his daughter, Sara Duterte, would run for presidency. So given that trajectory, the trend might still continue with the use of the internet in order to manufacture or to influence public opinion.
Wow,
so, yeah.
Very interesting. Yeah, that's extremely interesting because I think, have more or less the same situation here in Indonesia. Yeah, especially with regard of the use of manufacturing public opinion. I think that's a very good point, and we would like to learn from you. And it's really an honor for us as well that you are here, so you can express our knowledge too, because we want to hear from our fellow from other countries. Yeah, of course, I read books about the internet in Southeast Asia, but to hear directly from our fellow in other country is really privileged, I think. Thank you for joining us. How do we call you?
Thank you for the opportunity.
How do we?
Moriel.
Mariel.
Mariel would be okay, sir.
Mariel. Okay.
Yes,
What time
sir.
is it there in Philippines right now? You're still mute. Sorry.
Sorry, sir. I'm surprised that there's a time difference of an hour between
Oh, no time
Indonesia and the
difference.
Philippines. Yeah, it's an hour. We're earlier by an hour, so
Yeah.
I
Okay.
just found out about that yesterday when I entered the meeting earlier by an hour.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. Good then. Good that the time is not so different. Yeah, because
Okay.
last time I held book launching in LPDIS, and one of the speaker was Jeffrey Winter, and he lives in the US. So when we launched the book, it was midnight there, and it is midday here. So it's extreme different time. Thank you again, Marielle, and we would like to hear from perhaps I saw Pak Abu Bakar here, and I think if I'm not mistaken, Pak Abu Bakar lives in Malaysia.
Good afternoon,
Good
everyone.
afternoon, Pak Abu Bakar.
No, not anymore. I was in Malaysia. I think last time I was there in 2015. Now I'm back to Indonesia already.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So which part of Indonesia you live now?
Now I'm in Japan, in Jember actually. Yeah.
Oh, in Jember. Okay.
But I think we follow situation in Malaysia currently. A lot of political upheaval, I think, over there after the fall of the Barisan Nasional. But after that, Pakatan Harapan was also back out. Now they have a new prime minister from UMNO, so they come back to Barisan Nasional times.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you, Pak Abu Bakar, for joining us.
Yeah,
and I would like to
welcome.
welcome as well other co-hosts here, like Gabriel, and also Mas Damar Juniarto, who spoke very eloquently, yesterday. A lot of participants was asking questions to him, and that was very nice and very live discussion. I noticed here. I would like to say hi to how do I call it? Miss Nina Susilo or Mrs. Nina Susilo or Nina Susilo.
Hi, I'm Nina. Just call me Nina.
Nina, would you please introduce yourself?
Yes. Okay. Hi. I'm Nina, and actually now I'm working as journalist in the Kompas Daily newspaper, and I studied for the master of public policy in the University of Auckland in New Zealand in 2015, and nowadays I work for I cover the issue of political issues in Indonesia, and especially in the presidential and vice presidential palace. That's all, I guess.
Okay, so perhaps you will write another book like SB dan Istananya, like Mas.
Hopefully, like Mas Inu, yeah.
So Mbak Nina is kind of wartawan istana, right? The palace journalist, right?
That's the word. Kompas Daily newspaper is my alma mater, as well. I think for anthropologists, for ethnographer, the real alma mater is not the university, but the place where he did the research. He did the ethnography. So in a way, Kompas is my home, my alma mater. Thank you, Mbak Nina, for joining us.
Happy to be here.
Yeah, we're happy to have you too. Welcome as well, Sarah Andrew. I noticed that she's already here as well. Gabriel, or perhaps Mas Damar, do you have one word or two to share to the audience before we start the class, perhaps?
Yes, good morning.
Yes, it's morning there, yeah, in Paris, in France. Yeah.
You hear me?
Yes, yes, we hear
Yes,
you.
we can hear.
Can you hear me, Pawija?
Yes, yes, bonjour.
Yes.
Comment ça va?
Okay. Yeah, I had a problem of connection, so I didn't. I just saw you like blocked. I didn't know if
Okay.
could hear me. Oui, donc bonjour à tout le monde. Good morning. Here in France, it's morning.
Yeah, yeah.
And thank you. And I'm very patient for the second day.
Yeah.
But for now, the connection is very bad, so I hear you like a robot, robotic voice.
Okay. Yeah, yeah. Thank you for waking up so early ya. Terima kasih sudah bangun sangat pagi sekali, Gabriel, untuk join di hari kedua ini ya, membersamai kawan-kawan.
Saya bangun jam 5 dengan bayi saya.
Oh iya, ada alarm alamiah ya. I know. Kawan-kawan semua yang sedang bergabung mungkin bisa ini share screen ya, bukan share screen, sorry, bisa on cam ya. Ini baru masuk sudah hilang gitu. Ya, silahkan yang baru datang untuk on cam ya. Ini sebelum sesi kita gunakan untuk ngobrol-ngobrol ya, untuk santai gitu, sehingga kita bisa saling kenal. Kan kita why do I speak in Indonesian language? This forum is created not just to you come here and talk, but we want to build a fellowship, across generation perhaps, or across country, so we have more friends, right? And we learn together. And in Indonesia, I think also in Malaysia, there's a saying, tak kenal maka tak sayang, ya. If we don't know, then we don't have a. If we don't know each other, then we don't feel the bond. Perhaps not, we don't feel the love, but the bond. If we have the bond, it will be better. So welcome for all of you who just entered the room. We will appreciate if you put the camera on. Some of you may have a problem of putting on the background, the virtual background. It's okay. We understand that in some region it's not easy to put on the background for due to the signal reason. I noticed there's a Miss Bruce Dame Laura here. Would you please introduce yourself to us?
Yeah, my name is Bruce Dame Laura, but you can call me Vera. Currently living in Thailand for 2 years already, but in October, I'm going to move to Poland because I'm going to pursue my doctorate study at Jagiellonian. Yeah, and
you moved to Polandia.
Yes, in Poland.
So which city that you will go?
In Kraków, in Jagiellonian University.
Kraków is beautiful city. So you're lucky to be there.
Yeah.
I was in Warsaw last 2011, 10 years ago already, but I was still impressed with Warsaw, and I heard that Kraków is much more beautiful than Warsaw, while Warsaw itself is beautiful. So you're from Thailand, yeah?
No, I'm from Indonesia, but I have been living here for 2 years. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I work in university. I teach here, but yeah, I'm going to stop teaching and move to Poland in October.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Would you please perhaps share with us briefly perhaps the current situation of the internet in Thailand?
The internet connection? Yeah.
No, I mean the role of the internet, yeah?
The role. Sorry. The role of the internet. Yeah. How could I say here? I mean, I'm a foreigner here, so I am actually not following the local news, which is in Thai, because I don't really speak or read in Thai. but I follow I follow news only in English from Bangkok Post. So I guess that as a foreigner here, it's kind of hard for me to how to say that, like follow up the news, especially the political news, if I only read the English version from Thai online news. Because but most of the time right now, this online news, especially from Bangkok Post, they only cover only the COVID situation. But as we know that in Thailand now, it's currently they have some kind of internal political situation. Yeah, I'm not going to talk more about that because I think that there is a Thai here, so she or he could speak more about it. Because I'm not so sure if I could represent or tell the real what's going on here actually. Yeah, that's all.
Thank you. Of course, if you don't speak the language then or read the news, it's hard to follow the rumors, the underground information. That's
true.
Important in politics, right? And I noticed here, Novia Fitri, would you please introduce yourself to us?
Hello, everyone. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Mas Wija, Mas Gulam. I'm a friend of Donna. She's always telling me about your Mr. Wija. Mas Wija, I call him Mas Wija.
Which Donna?
Yeah, Donna from Undip.
Lipi's teacher, yeah?
Yeah, we did master program together in UI. I think it was 3 years ago.
Okay.
So presently, I'm conducting my doctoral program in political science at the University of Indonesia. And I'm preparing my research proposal about big data methodology and political science phenomenon in the digital world. So I guess this even very interesting and really, I believe that I will get much more benefit from this program.
Okay, thank you, Novia, for joining us.
You're welcome.
If perhaps we would like to hear the experience of from Italy, we have a colleague here, Aniello. He lives in Italy. Elo, would you share with us the internet experience in Italy? Is it supporting or discouraging democracy? Of course, this is a big question, but you don't have to explain. I
think book about use of propaganda with internet. For example, the like share anti-immigration propaganda or vaccine program in Italy is very strong, especially for the right party. It's not like in Indonesia or Thailand. It's more like to use internet or social media for the spread of propaganda, anti-immigration, or anti-Islam, or anti different kind of culture.
Okay.
You hear me?
So you're suggesting that the internet also plays a big role there in Italian politics?
Yeah, it's a big role. I mean, like the choice of policy can move from internet. For example, how the leader party make speak on Facebook or in Instagram can make a choice, can change the opinion of the people. I mean, I think it's the same also in other country of Europe, like France.
Okay, yeah, nice. Perhaps I hope you can share more during the question and answer or during other session, because we plan to have a breakout room very soon. Hopefully today, if not, perhaps in another meeting. Is there anyone, any colleague here who come from abroad? I mean, from other country than Indonesia? I see some name here like Mahmoud W. Abbas. Mr. Mahmoud W. Abbas, who is it? Are you here with us? Are you following me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, Mr. Mahmoud, would you please introduce yourself a little bit? And if possible, perhaps you turn the camera on so we can see you.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we hear you.
Okay. Can you see me?
Yes, yes, we see you, yes.
Okay, so my name is Mahmoud Abu Wazna, and I am from Palestine.
Okay.
I'm studying Master in Law, International Public Law in DIPONEGORO University, the Indonesia. And I live in Bogor.
Okay, you live in Bogor, but you study in Semarang, and you're from Palestine, yeah? So there's a unique combination.
Yeah, because we, as you know now, COVID, so we study online.
Yes, yes, okay, okay. So Mahmoud, it's definitely that you're not just you didn't just come, you don't just arrive from Palestine, yeah? So you've been here for a while, I think. You've been in Indonesia for some times.
Yeah, I can speak. I'm around 3 years here in Indonesia.
Oh, 3 years. Okay. So if let's say I ask you about the role of the internet in Palestine, would you be able to perhaps tell a little bit?
About the internet?
Yes, please.
Like we use it for political or news. That is the question.
Sorry again.
Hello.
Yes, we're listening to you.
Bad connection.
No, we're following you. So does the internet have a big role there, or?
Actually, like rules we don't have, but like how can I say it? I think it's like self rules from ourselves.
Okay.
Do you mean when we use internet for news or political
for politics
issues?
in with regard to democracy, yeah. So sorry, I'm really a newbie, yeah, with Palestinian politics, but maybe for supporting the the role of the internet in terms of for instance for supporting the Palestinian freedom or that kind of thing for politics, of course, yeah, that we would like to discuss today. Perhaps you could explain a little bit.
Yeah, but could say actually for politics or political issues, yeah, there's some rules we have to follow from government, from also, but sometimes it's not safety to discuss this kind of topics in internet, because as you know we have a conflict with Israel, so
yeah. Okay.
Yeah, sometimes dangerous for us.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Mahmoud. Mas Maskur, are you here, Mas Maskur, already?
Yeah, I'm here, Mister.
Oh, okay.
Hello.
Yeah, but I cannot see you. But you're ready, yeah, with the video, yeah?
Okay, I'm ready.
Okay, I think I will start the session. Before I start, perhaps Mas Amang, or you want to say something to the participants?
Hello again, everyone. Nice to meet you on the second day of summer course 2021. This is to the topic is very for me, it's very personal. I really enjoy this topic about internet and democracy. Actually, on the first day I'm arrived and joining SafeNet, the idea of internet and democracy, I read a lot of writing from Merlina Lim. She's one of my what is called a person who really amazed me with the idea of the role of the internet. This is also related to my my project, my last project, developing a model about correlation between internet and democracy. So I hope everyone will enjoy this session, and looking forward to discuss later after the session with Merlina Lim. Thank you.
Thank you, Mas Amang. Yeah, I think you might as well give the presentation, yeah, for the session. However, I'm sorry to tell everyone here that Professor Merlina Lim, she will not be able to be here in this class today. However, she has kindly allowed us to play her video, yeah, her presentation about the correlation between internet and democracy. And if you have any questions to her, I will forward your questions to her, because now in Canada is 3 a.m. yeah, in the night, yeah, and of course I don't have a heart yet to force Prof. Merlina to attend. And the last time she came to Undip, join our conferences, because it was held in the night, yeah, at 8 or 9 in the night. And she even didn't attend when in Asia's conference last year, when it was held around 1 or 2 p.m. in the day. So we will play the video of Merlina Lim after my presentation. So I think I will start this session about internet and democracy. And I also saw Mas Anthony Lee here. Yeah, I think he might as well act as the speaker here for his expertise. Even Mas Damar quoted his work, yeah, yesterday. Welcome as well, Mas Anthony Lee.
Mas Wija, but I think I will be a participant. I choose to be participant because I want to get knowledge from you and also from Mas Amang.
Yeah, okay. But I'm also a participant here. Yeah, I want to make it clear. Yeah, because we learn together here. It's a forum where we learn together. That will be the idea of this forum. Yeah. Okay. And I have my Mas Taufan Malaka. Welcome, Mas Taufan Malaka, PhD candidates in Nagoya, I think. Mas Taufan, I think he started this PhD together with me. I hope you will finish it soon. This is a sensitive topic, yeah. Okay, I will start now. Here we go. Could you see my screen?
Yes, I see.
Yep, internet and democracy, as you could see, theoretical debates and empirical findings. I think this is a very tough topic. Yeah, it's a very huge one and a very big one. And I think for those who have learned this topic for so long time, you must immediately know that even until now, the debate among scholars is still going on. So first of all, I would like to make clear here that, in my view, to understand the correlation between internet and democracy, one way to understand it is, first we understand democracy. We learn about democracy. That would be my my suggestion, because when we talk about internet and democracy, we the debate is, to put it very simple, yeah, very generic. Internet, in one hand, people believe that the internet support democracy, that the existence of the internet, brings transparency or enable citizens to protest, to give their thought, their opinion online, So it's good for democracy. But in another hand, people say that internet and the digital revolution has enabled the authoritarian regimes to control the citizen, to monitor them, to do surveillance to the citizens. So which one is correct then? Which one is true? To answer that questions, I will start by discussing democracy itself. And if we talk about the current state of democracy globally today, then we will meet this guy. This is a very big name in political science, after Samuel Huntington. And he, in the journal Democracy last year, 2020, he wrote about democratic recession, global democratic recession. So he argues that globally now, many countries are in a state of democratic decline. And he suggested that the principal method of the democratic regression has been incremental strangulation of democracy by elected, typically populist executives who gradually eviscerate institutional checks, political opposition, independent media, other forces of scrutiny and resistance in civil society. So that's his view about the current state of democracy globally. I mentioned him to give context, to give global context. So I can share as well, perhaps later on, friends from Philippines, from Thailand, or from other countries, from Italy could share as well their view about the current situation of democracy in their countries as well. Now I will talk, of course, about Indonesia. So if we take a look very closely about the current literature about current state of democracy in Indonesia, then we will find these literatures, So there's a shared argument among scholars that we are currently having democratic regression, which is coined by scholars, conceptualized a different way. Among other things are defective democracy, democratic setbacks, democratic regression, democratic consolidation, democratic decline, authoritarian turn, democratic backsliding, democratic recession, illiberal democracy, recession of democracy, neo-authoritarianism, authoritarian innovations, authoritarian practices, authoritarian populism. So some even goes further that actually Indonesia now it's not just this democracy is not just regressing or declining, but also we are having an authoritarian turn. That would be the findings of the latest studies, ranging from 2016 to 2021. So basically, literature in the last 5 years. And what is it? Just to cite some of them, democratic regression is referred as a slow process marked by a situation where political actors are slowly turning away from democratic values and institutions. This will not necessarily lead to authoritarianism. However, democratic regression slowly gives birth to other types of political regimes that are not fully democratic, but also not completely dictatorial, such as illiberal democracy, competitive authoritarian systems, mixed regime, and so on. That's according to Ivar Buten and Thomas Power, or Marcus Mitzner, for instance, he suggested that democratic decline is a process in which democracies gradually lose their quality over time and which may or may not lead to a full democratic reversal. And yeah, okay, I will go on. So the question is when and how, according to the literatures, yeah. Mitzner point out that it happened when President Jokowi opted for a more coercive approach, like the activating power tool, not used since the days of Suharto's autocracy, which is the intervention to the opposition parties, and eventually forced them to declare the support for his administration. This according to Mitzner. And Mitzner also suggested about the Islamist mobilization, yeah. So Jokowi's administration pursued a criminalization strategy against populists that violated established legal norms and launched vaguely targeted but patronage-oriented accommodation policies. I think it's in his article entitled "Fighting Illiberalism with Illiberalism." Ivar Putin pointed out about the ideology of new developmentalism of Jokowi, pursuing for infrastructure, a narrow set of pragmatic economic programs, specifically infrastructure, deregulation, and debureaucratization, but develop little interest in liberal democratic ideas or political rights. So issues such as human rights and also environment are neglected in her view. And Fedi Hadis pointed out about the mainstreaming of conservative Islamic morality and reactionary hyper-nationalism. So it contends that such mainstreaming has been a growing feature. So it happens, yeah, the mainstreaming of the conservative Islamic morality is a reflection of intra-oligarchic competition in his view. Tom Power in his article, he even goes further that Jokowi governments, in his view, has been in democratization through the continued mainstreaming and legitimation of a conservative and anti-pluralist brand of political Islam, and the partisan manipulation of key institutions of state, the increasingly open repression and disempowerment of political opposition, and has taken an authoritarian turn. I think that's the first time where the authoritarian as concept is used to explicitly, in the title of his article, to describe Jokowi's administration. Yeah. So ahead of 2019 election, in his view, manipulation of powerful law enforcement and security institutions for narrow partisan purposes, the administration concerted effort to undermine and repress democratic opposition. Okay, and this is in 2019, so a year afterwards. Marcus Mitzner also used the words authoritarian to describe the current regime, which is marked by electoral narrowing, identity politics, and executive illiberalism. So this illiberal strategies concern a narrowing of electoral competitiveness, the mobilization of identity politics, and attempt at power concentration and maximization by the executive. So some scholars also pointed the words of what's the concept, presidential agrandism or something like that. Yeah. Okay. LPDIS. We also had a study. Yeah. We published a book in the late 2019. The title is Menyelamatkan Demokrasi. This is the book, and we wrote. I was the first author. I'm the first author of this outlook. So we reflect upon the situation of Indonesian democracy in 2019, and we forecast. We give an outlook for the Indonesian situation in 2020, and the situation when we released the book was that KPK, the national body to combat corruption, National Anti-Corruption Body, was weakened through the revision of KPK law. So this is for the first time in Indonesian history that this anti-corruption body was weakened so seriously. The regimes and government before Jokowi in 2019 was also trying to weaken the institution. However, they didn't make it. But in 2019, it was an extraordinary situation. I would like to explain to you more further, perhaps. But I would like to continue that in the end of 2020, we released a book to reflect the situation in 2020 and outlook of this year. The writer is one of the writer was here, Aisyah Putri Budiatri, from Indonesian Research Institute from LIPI. Oh no, there's no longer LIPI. Now there is BRIN, and I don't know the abbreviation. So that's the institution. Okay. In this book, we argue that actually the democratic creation that happened in 2019 was continuing, and it got even worse in 2020. It was marked by the many policies by the government that ignore the public, the people. Such as ignoring the importance of saving life of the people when pandemic just arrived in Indonesia. So before the pandemic arrived, and it was in Singapore already and in our neighboring countries, but the government said that we will be all right. Corona will not come to Indonesia. Let's pursue our economic growth and let's do business. That's a poor crisis communication, and also the policy, new normal policy. Back then Indonesia was not yet. So new normal policy was enacted in May 2020. This is a policy to back to normal, to do economy again, because the pandemic was believed by the government as has been decreasing. However, after this policy, it was increasing, and many victims of this situation. Many people passed away because of that. And we also enacted omnibus law, and also we enacted pilkada langsung, direct local election of the local head. I think Kompas Daily newspaper is one of the newspaper that was critical with this policy. Okay, and this was my article, Democratic Creation and Autonomous Practices in Indonesia, in which I refer to Levitsky and Ziblatt. This article was published in the end of 2020 by LIPI, and referring to Levitsky and Ziblatt in the case of the US, the United States, during the Donald Trump administration, they argued about how democracy in America dies. And I argue in this article that the indicators of the death of democracy in America, as suggested by Levitsky and Ziblatt, we found it in Indonesia too, like the weakening of the opposition, the narrowing of the civic space, such as the tolerance or encouragement of violence to the civil protest, to the civil society, and rejection or recommitment to democratic rules. And as some of you might already know, 4 days ago we released a book edited by me and Aisyah Putri, who is here as well. This book was originated from the Forum of 100 Scholars. So in LP3IS, in my institution, we had together with Diponegoro University, we had a weekly seminar, weekly webinar starting from October last year to June this year. And every week there were about 3 to 4 scholars speak in our forum, and they reflect open Indonesian democracy based on their expertise. There were environmentalists, and also researcher on political party, researcher on civic rights, academic freedom, many different backgrounds. And there was a shared argument that in Indonesia, the democracy was indeed declining. One of the reasons was because the consolidation of the oligarchic power so fast, especially after 2019, and it has been begun around 2016. And on the other hand, the society was so weak to challenge this oligarchic power. This is the result of the Economic Intelligence Unit suggesting that one of the indicators of democratic decline in Indonesia was the erosion of civil liberties, in which the score was only 5.59. And the Philippines was even better, according to the Economic Intelligence Unit, at least. The score was 7.06. Perhaps our friend from Philippines can have some argument about it later on. And the same score was maintained in 2020 with a 5.59 in 2020. Okay, and this is the survey from Indicator Politik, Burhanuddin Muhtadi, who asked the citizen whether the citizen agree or not that the citizens are now afraid of expressing their opinion publicly. And the finding was that almost 70% of the population very agree, or rather agree about that they are scared to express their opinion. And the survey was held in 2020, September 2020. And around 1 or 2 months ago, LPDIS also had conducted more or less the same survey, asking the same question. Do you agree or not if the public, the people today, are scared of expressing their opinion, their expression, and to unite together, to have a meeting together? And the answer was more than 50%. Agree with it. Very agree and agree. So this is also an alarming situation with regard to civil liberties. So one of the main feature of Indonesian democracy or Indonesian democratic creation is the erosion of civil liberties. The question is why? So if we refer to Warburton and Aspinall, there are 3 factors explaining the situation. The first one is structural factors. They argue that high levels of corruption, oligarchic elites who are still in power and manage to maintain a position after regime change, anti-democratic elites who are given space in the government, economic crisis that occur before entering the transition, high economic inequality, political parties that are not functioning properly, poorly designed political institutions, ethnic feuds, and fragile governing coalition. So this was actually the situation that was there before we entered the political reform in 1998. One of the main feature, I think, that was shared by scholars, political scholars studying Indonesia, was the oligarchic elites. So we can refer, for instance, to the work of Richard Robinson. The title was "The Rise of Capital." So he argued that during the New Order period under Suharto, he built around him what he called as oligarchic elites. It referred to the coalition of people who were rich and also powerful. So political power and business people they form a relation, yeah, and they work together. They did a conspiracy, yeah, quote unquote, to make sure that their power and also their wealth is maintained. That's why people like scholar like Jeffrey Winters also refer oligarchy as the politics of maintaining wealth. And in the work of Fedi Hadis, he argued that the oligarchic formation, the oligarchic elites built or incubated in or formed, yes, or developed during the New Order era survived the political reform in 1998, and they gain power again. They become more powerful again by time, yeah. And the book was published in 2004 actually, of the Fedi Hadis, and we noticed. I think this oligarchic power is getting stronger and stronger today, yeah, especially after 2019, when the KPK, when the anti-corruption body was successfully beaten or weakened by these elites. And also there was a role of agency, according to Ivar Bussen and Aspinall. They actually point also to President SBY, yeah, the president before the Jokowi today, that give too much room to the conservative power, yeah, and also yeah, he avoided reforms that could see him attack and come into conflict with dominant forces, yeah. As a result, the agenda of providing justice to victims of past human rights violation was not given. Systematic reform of the military and police institution was not really conducted, yeah. And this is embraced conservative Islamic groups, yeah, yeah, such as MUI, Ahmadiyah, Shia, Christian. Of course, you may not agree with them, yeah. And Jokowi did just the same or even worse, yeah. And also there was from people's side, the democratic regression also happened. As you could see in the survey here, that in Indonesia, if we talk about people that believe that democracy can solve problem, only 70% of people agree. A democracy always preferable, 58%. Democracy more important than economic development, only 7% of the population. So for the people as well, democracy is not more important than development, we can say. Political freedom more important than economic equality, yeah. The result is also you can see here only 33%. So this is the reflection of people was also half-hearted in supporting democracy. And also here you can see women should be less involved in politics than men, only 41%, yeah. Government decide what can be discussed. 50% of people agree that government have the power to decide whatever to be discussed. Harmony will be disrupted if people organize many groups. Number 3, here 53% agree. So you know, some people believe that we may not have too many organizations because it will lead to chaos, to disharmony. Okay. So are you still there? Are you still with me? Still interesting? So this is the end of my slide about the democracy. Now we come to the main course, yeah. Let's say that's the appetizer, yeah. So it's the main course, the internet and democracy. When I read the work of Mir Nalim, I was confused, yeah, very often. So she believes the democracy, internet supporting democracy or not, because I'm also a friend, yeah, with her in real life, also in Facebook. Sometimes I read in her wall, yeah. I think some of you perhaps also a friend with her. So she said one day, internet is not rare or well done. Internet is medium. she likes to have a joke ya. Internet tidak medium atau rare, sorry, internet bukan rare atau well done, tapi medium. So I look back to the work of Mir Nalim back to 2002. It's like 19 years ago, yeah. She argues in that work that the Indonesian experience shows that the internet can be a double-edged sword in facilitating democratization. Responding to the debate about whether the internet leads to democratization, is an Orwellian menace to democracy, or is a facilitator of global capitalist hegemony, this paper shows that these questions cannot be resolved in the virtual world of the internet itself. Rather, they are played out locally through struggles revolving around the creation and assertion of identities that could coalesce and galvanize actors into contests of power and control over the public sphere. To better understand the outcomes of localization of the internet, the Indonesian experience is traced through two recent episodes: the student movement leading to downfall of Sin Suharto in 1998, and the more recent rise of the jihad troopers back to I think about 2002, yeah, so around that year in Indonesia. So her argument, she argued further that the state system of control and surveillance constricted such activity in all other potential civic space. So political activation through the internet became vital to political reform. Yet in the post-Suharto era, it is not clear whether civil society will flower in the liberated cyberspaces of the internet, or will instead succumb to communal resistance and the disintegration of civil society. If the latter situation comes to pass, Indonesia is likely to experience a several weakened state and fragmented society, risking perpetual instability. So I would like to emphasize, yeah, here, yeah, this question cannot be resolved in the virtual world of the internet itself. So to basically to understand whether internet supports or discourages democracy, we have to look at the political context. And as I will present to you until the end of my slides, that we notice that along with the Indonesian democratic regression in Indonesia, the role of the internet is also become less and less supporting democracy. Or in other words, in the old days, the internet was supporting democracy, or there was a lot of optimist story about the internet supporting democracy in Indonesia. But nowadays, if you take a look at the current literature about the role of the internet in Indonesia, then you will find that the internet was discouraging or not supporting democracy anymore, like the some years before. So this was actually a reflection of the democratic regression that happening in the country itself. I will make my argument clearer throughout my presentation, but I hope you're still with me, yeah. Okay, 2013. This period, Mir Nalim was still optimistic. Of course, if I say to her, you were optimistic back then, but now not anymore. Then she will usually said, no, I'm not being optimistic or not optimistic. I just present the findings. That's what she always says, yeah, in some occasion. But let's see, yeah. In 2013, she published a work entitled "Many Clicks but Little Stick." Yeah, so she discussed about 4 cases: the weakening of KPK, and then coin for Prita, and the case of Ahmadiyah, and also Lapindo Mat. Yeah, 4 cases. So coin for Prita basically is a story about a woman who is who was experiencing malpractice, yeah, by a hospital, and she complained in the internet, and then the hospital sued her. The KPK law was story about the criminalization of two commissioner of the Indonesian anti-corruption body, Bibit and Chandra, Bibit Samatrianto and Chandra, I think in the name. But they won through the support of the people, and the campaign was done through the internet. There was a movement named the movement of 1 million Facebookers supporting Bibit and Chandra. Yeah, and they were then released from the criminalization of by the police. That's part of the attempt to weaken the anti-corruption body. And the coin for Prita is a case in which after Prita and the woman named Prita was shot by the government, she got support from the innocent public through the campaign from the internet. And there was a movement saying coins for Prita, so money for Prita. So Prita got, support 1 billion to pay the hospital, because the hospital was believed as the right party, and Prita had to pay 1 billion rupiahs. But then, the support of the public, I think, if I remember it correctly, released Prita from the punishment. However, into other cases in which the Ahmadiyya followers, believers, were expelled from their place, and also the victims of Mat Lapindo cases. This is the case involving a big company in Indonesia. This didn't work. They were all beaten. However, the conclusion of Melina was that she said, social activism is more likely to successfully mobilize mass support when its narrative are simple, associated with low risk action, and congruent with dominant meta narratives such as nationalism and religiosity. Success is less likely when the narrative is contested by dominant competing narratives generated in mainstream media. This is not fully a happy story. However, there was still some lights, optimism that actually the internet can support democracy, can support citizens, can support social media activism. And actually, more or less, some kind of argument was argued by Rostepsel. I think Ricardo Simamarta, my friend, is here. He's the student of Rostepsel, who will speak in one of our sessions, in Friday next week, I think. In his book, he argues that digitalization is pulling media, politics, and society in Indonesian two directions. Digital media is a prominent place of contestation between large, powerful oligarchs and citizens looking to bring about rapid and meaningful change. And he argues, quite optimistic, the political agency of both oligarchs and netizens are enhanced by digitalization, and how an increasingly divergent society is being formed. Digital media are undoubtedly allowing for a growing numbers of citizens to participate in discussion, shape media content, and lobby politicians in order to have their voice heard. So Rostepsel here was quite optimistic, even though he suggested that oligarchic power also getting stronger, but the citizens are equally stronger in his view, But 2017. But later on, he changed, quote unquote, his argument. He becomes more pessimistic, I think. But I would like to share to you the other good story, a beautiful story. It's written by my colleague Fiona Swana from Australia. She argues in the case of the attempt to weaken KPK, the anti-corruption body in 2015, which was failed, the attempt, and it was supported by the youth that joined the movement. So she was optimistic that this is a good news for digital media activism in Indonesia, for the internet and democracy in Indonesia, right? Now, in 2017, Melina Rim suggested a more pessimistic argument. or finding, yeah. And it goes along with the regression and the democracy initiative that further having regression. Yeah? The title of this article she wrote in 2017 was "Freedom to Hate." Yeah, and her she took case study of 2017 governor election, yeah, in Jakarta, in which she viewed as marked by the utilization of volunteers, buzzers, and micro celebrities. The Pilkada DKI exemplifies, yeah, DKI Jakarta, the practice of poster politics in marketing the brand. While encouraging freedom of expression, social media also emboldens freedom to hate, where individuals exercise the right to voice their opinions while actively silencing others. Unraveling the complexity of the relationships between social media and electoral politics, I suggest that the mutual shaping between the users and algorithm result in the formation of algorithmic enclaves that in turn produce multiple forms of tribal nationalism. Within these multiple online enclaves, social media users claim and legitimize their own version of nationalism by excluding equality and justice for others. So she argued that the internet facilitated the rise of algorithmic enclaves, which is the use of the social media for people, yeah, to build a kind of their own identity or fashion of nationalism and excluding other people. So the identity politic was stronger because of this. And this article was published in Critical Action Studies and was triggering many debates, and people wanted to know more about what did she mean by algorithmic enclaves. And this is the further explanation from Melina Lim. Yeah, algorithmic enclaves is a discursive arena where individuals, afforded by their constant interaction with algorithm, interact with each other and collectivize based on a perceived shared identity online for defending their beliefs and protecting their resources from both real and perceived threats, usually from a common enemy. So there was a common enemy too there. So that's what she means by algorithmic enclaves. And the murky picture also shared by the latest study by, it was published in 2021, yeah, Inaya Rahmani and Saraswati. In their work, they argue that by taking the case of Indonesia, the largest democracy and largest economy in Southeast Asia, and this article critically analyzed the role of the political campaign industry in mobilizing narratives in electoral discourses. We use the Gramscian notion of consent and coercion, in which the shaping of populist narrative relies on mechanism of persuasion using mass and social media. Such mechanism allow the transformation of political discourses in conjunction with oligarchic power struggle. Within this struggle, political campaigners narrate the persona of political elites, while cyber armies divide and polarize to manufacture allegiance and agitation among the majority of young voters as part of shifting social base. As such, we argue that together, the narrative through engineering consent and coercion construct authoritarian populism that pits two crowds of the people against each other while aligning them with different sections of the elites. So they introduced the term authoritarian populism that is facilitated, its rise was facilitated by the use of the social media, internet. Yeah. Okay. And it actually now from the case of Indonesia, I would like to go to the broader case of Southeast Asia, and the situation in Indonesia actually reflect the situation in Southeast Asia in general. Yeah, as suggested by the book edited by Im Sinpeng and Ross Tapsell. So you notice here, yeah, Ross Tapsell, I think he moves from optimism to, I think, to more pessimistic thought, yeah, of course, based on his findings. But I would like to draw your attention to the conclusion of the book that was written by Marco Bunte. Yeah? He argues that authoritarian regimes in Southeast Asia have adapted to new technologies and are increasingly using social media and the internet for their own ends. They have enhanced censorship and online repression and are employing the internet to co-opt certain social groups, repress critics, and legitimize their rule. The young democracies in the region are unstable and weakly institutionalized. Social media is furthering polarization and distrust in Southeast Asian societies, often based on disinformation campaigns and growing sectarianism. Here, elections have become virtual battlegrounds between contestant internet and social media are actively used to misinform and intimidate. So this is a strong conclusion from Bunte, and I think it's also suggested in the title of the book, yeah, from grassroots activism to disinformation. So it also reflecting the democratic regression, yeah, in this region. And also it's argued by Sin Pang in his article, what explains authoritarian resilience in Southeast Asia in the face of rising opportunities for online political opposition. He argues that while digital media has emerged as an important repertoire of activism, particularly for political opposition groups, a deft combination of political authoritarianism and increasing internet controls have stumped democratic pressure in society and hamper future prospects for democratization. It also offers a comparative analysis of how the internet more generally and digital media in particular has affected the state-society relation in Southeast Asia in recent years. In order for digitally mediated political position to meaningfully challenge the existing authoritarian incumbents, sufficient opening in the political system is needed. This means authoritarian states with competitive routinized elections, which have recently experienced large scale of sustained mobilization by opposition groups, are more likely to be susceptible to breakdown than closed regime. So he argued about the use of the internet to make the by the authoritarian regime to maintain their power, even though he also gives slightly a slight hope, yeah, that as long as the regime has a regular election, then perhaps there will be a chance for the breakdown of the regime still. Okay. Now, this is the article that I wrote together with Fiona Suwana. It's still draft, yeah. It will be published soon in the conversation. Yeah, we talk about digital innovation cuts both ways: repression rises, resistance response. So we argue here that based on the latest findings of my research, yeah, recently, that actually the internet was used to repress the citizen through, for instance, virtual police, through the use of cyber troops and computational propaganda, through the use of cyber terror. Yeah. However, actually, the resistance was there. Yeah. I have to be honest to you that the resistance response here is actually more repression than resistance, to be more accurate. Yeah. So actually, repression, we have more repression, internet repression, than resistance from the citizen, which is to say that actually the people, the citizen, always resisted all of the attempt, for instance, to manipulate public opinion. Yeah. However, the citizens were beaten in the end. Pardon, I have to drink first. Okay, now I will continue. I will share my slide again. Yeah. Okay. This actually also this kind of optimism, yeah, a little bit of optimism was also shared by FIDEM, who suggested that globally, actually, auto-creation surge, however, resistance grows. Authoritarianism rises, but also racism also rises in this report. Yeah, based on my research with some colleagues in Amsterdam, in Leiden, and Fahmi from Drone and Plate, some of the researchers are here as well, Oki, Pradipa, Elsitra, and some friends here. In the case of 5 cases, we did research on the cyber troops and public opinion manipulation in 5 cases. Yeah, presidential election, KPK revision, the new normal, omnibus law, and direct election. There was a manipulation of public opinion to support this policy, and actually there was always resistance from the citizens. However, the resistance was actually beaten. Yeah, the cyber troopers won the public opinion manipulation. So that's why so much manipulation and sadly a little bit resistance. And that would be my title. I will explain more about it with what Partner Scott in our next session, but I just want to give you some other ideas. Yeah. Now, why I bring you this in the end? Because I would like to bring you here. So, because internet, in my view, is reflection of the dynamics of the political economic dynamics of the society. So the roots of the problem was here, in my view. Yeah, if we refer to the work of James Robinson, and Darren Acemoglu, entitled "The Narrow Corridor: State, Societies, and Fate of Liberty." So they suggested that to maintain a democracy, to maintain civil liberty, it is just like a narrow corridor, a thin line that was the result of the balance of power between the state and the society. And the power of the state and the society has to be balanced if we want to make sure that civil liberty is there and democracy is there. If the state is too strong, then we will arrive in the Hobbesian state, yeah, the Leviathan. However, if the society is too strong and the state was weak or the state was not there, then we will find chaos there. In Indonesia, I argue, the state was too strong, but the state is not the state itself, but the state that was actually the oligarchic power. Yeah, the coalition between the capitalists, yeah, the power holders, and also the entrepreneur, yeah, the rich and the powerful. They work together to hijack the system, the democratic system. So, for instance, we have democracy in Indonesia, we have election, but then the election was hijacked by the oligarchs using money politics. So those who are elected were not necessarily the representation of the people, because they got their position through money politics, for instance. Yeah. The KPK law was the anti-corruption body was weakened, and all of the legislators in the parliament agrees with it, and the society was forgotten. And during the pandemic, there were many unnecessary victims because of the poor handling of the pandemic. Because what the oligarch care more is the sustainability of the economy. So what happens in Indonesia today was the weakening of the civil society, of civil liberties, because the oligarchic power was consolidating themselves very fast, and the civil society was very much left behind. Thank you. I will end my presentation here. Okay, that would be the end of my presentation. I noticed some questions. Oh no, so it's absent. Okay. Okay, and you can consider my talk as, you know, as a introduction, yeah, to the video that we will be watching together of by presentation by Melina Lim, yeah. Mas Maskur, would you please share the video with us? Thank you.
Thank you so much. Good evening, everybody. Selamat malam. Thank you so much for that introduction, and thank you to Mas Wija for inviting. Actually, I need to share my screen, so I'm waiting for the IT or the host to just make me a co-host. So when I was asked by Wija to present, and I actually never really submit my title. I wasn't aware that I had to submit, so I think Wija made up a title for me, which is fine, which is very appropriate. But I sort of like tweaking the title just to sort of represent what I will be talking about. So this year, I've been doing research on this for 20 years. Started in my 20s, meaning that I've been through those things that we were talking about, right? So my research is actually covering pre-98 to the so-called democratic regression that we've been talking about earlier in the morning. Just an overview is, at some point last couple of years ago, I was asked to map my research, which actually literally this is actually my life, right? It's like half of my life, and most of my research predominantly about Indonesia. And when it comes to debate and discourse that I intervene, literally these are, even though I use empirical finding from other countries, I think I anchor my theorization and conceptualization in Indonesian context. And I think while probably some people who read certain stuff, they would say, oh, my research is about questioning the role of the internet in supporting or hindering democracy, but that's actually not quite the question that I was posing. I think I had to always bring up the question about the relationship between internet or social media or digital media with democracy, because that's what people keep talking about. But I think it is an oversimplified and actually a misleading question to ask, does internet promote democracy? Because that's oversimplified the relationship between technology and society in itself, and especially the relationship between technology and politics. So my take on digital media and politics, which is literally also is about relationship, about how society and technology are shaping each other. I keep arguing, and the big picture is that the relationship is needs to always be contextualized within techno, media, political, and socioeconomic landscape. And of course, I'm not doing all of this, right? I'm not an economist. I don't usually look at the socioeconomic aspect that much, but I think that should be kept in mind. So this is the techno landscape currently, right? I will not discuss this, but this is so vastly different if compared to 20 years ago when Indonesia started the democratic in transition. The population has changed, and especially the middle class here is actually growing from 75 million in 2012. And I think it was half of that in early 2000. And now in 2020, it's 140 million. But it's also mean there is, like, with the growing middle class, there is a higher inequality. You could see the Gini coefficient. So these are background that we need to keep in mind. When it comes to political landscape, we could talk about a lot of things, but electoral politics is one thing, right? We've been talking about democratization. Yes, there are more political parties. There are electoral as a politic, as a procedural democracy. But essentially, if you look at the biggest party, who are these actors, right? Probably sometimes we have new names, but who are behind this? Whose money, whose power, right? We deal with new name, new term, new parties, but we look at actually essentially similar player throughout the years. And I'm talking about media landscape. We are talking about, this is the map that I made quite a long time ago, but it is still true in terms of big picture that it is, and actually become worse than this because the media has become more concentrated. And if you look at some kind of episodes of electoral politics, you would see that this has much influence in the way the discourse of politics and how people collectivize around issues, political issues, reflect the concentration of media as well. And then where are our internet users? Even though there's growing, we still actually look at upper. So yes, they're growing internet user, but it's growing on upper middle class and upper class, but not necessarily on lower class. And also, yes, it's growing in Jakarta and in Java, but not in rural areas, but only in urban areas, and certainly not in Papua or other countries or other places. So that's the landscape. And this is kind of like snapshot of my research. I take a look at, we were 1990 to 98. So I did my dissertation in 2005. I look at the sort of historical context of the internet and politics. Basically, what we see that the internet was used for collective action against, as a sort of like anti-authoritarian movements, which essentially work through the reductions of complexities. So it was democratic, but at the same time, it was not like we had ideal public spheres. And internet play very important role in simplifying, right, the sort of like complex message. And then 98 to 98 with the same, that kind of reduction, binary discourse, anti-something, we against you. With identity politics, we have a different one. The mode is the same, the technology is the same, except the content was changed into the more tribal nationalism and identity politics. And then you have blogs and Facebook and then also Twitter later on from 2006 on. So you see the new thing, which is like entertainment and play in politics, popular culture type, and the beginning of algorithmic activism, where visibility, virality, and the economic of attentions become more amplified. Of course, you have good examples, such as Prita, for example, or Gecko versus Crocodile, anti-capital, but these are not the entire story, right? You might have good outcome, but it's not necessarily represent even the good outcome. It's complex and problematic in itself in terms of the mode and processes, because it's always went through some kind of technological bias that makes certain movement visible, but the more complex one, including the more important issue being hijacked by the bias within technology society relationship itself. And then it carry on because we have the first example of electoral politics that is through mobile social media. From 2012, actually, Indonesia entered the new era, which is mobile social media, kind of like a platform as the most dominant. And then, so you see the culmination that we have better representative. However, it still went through, they were elected and their campaigns were organized through populism, right? So it's populism versus populism. It's not necessarily like one is more democratic or nationalistic and the other is fundamentalist. I think both, all of the players were populist leader, and it was very binary. And we have seen fragmented voters and what I call as algorithmic enclaves, which I will bring you to that earlier, since 2012. So we don't have middle ground, which is anti-Ahok later, right? Actually started with this, anti-Jokowi and Ahok, right? It was two camps. If you are on the third camp, you have no space. And it went on, 2017, 2018, this binary politics went on, and you have grassroots, but it is not necessarily grassroots rational activism, because what you see, you have activism, yes, grassroots activism, true activism, but also grassroots social movement, but at the same time, you have different type of grassroots. This is grassroots fandom that could be on the good side, on bad side, or it doesn't matter, right? But these are the modes, and this is that is what happening not only in Indonesia but also in other countries. So, looking at those sort of 20 years, over 20 years, what would this see? I think there are change and there are continuity. There is used to be radical opposition, whether it's from 98 to now is become. No, it's more about polarized, fragmented spheres. It used to be against states, right? Like one modes, now it's a fan-based popular culture. The control censorship used to be concentrated on the state. Now it's participatory, what I call participatory network panopticon. The players were global, local. There are some entities in 98 that were abroad precisely because there's so much control within Indonesia. But now we have seen local players. Deliberation happened in the small group, but now is more enclaves within the enclave deliberation, which is what I call algorithmic enclaves. It was mass mobilization becoming populist mobilization. Social movement and collective action were acted by intermodality of alternative media, old and new. Now it's actually the media ecology has become more network. It's not like there is a dominant one. It's social media feeding into the more traditional, and it's going back. It's like fluid feedback, right? It's very network, and I think it was ephemeral. It was ad hoc. It was not. It was most of the activism, but right now is even more so. It's speed up. Is here and now. It's issue based. It's very chronopolitics kind of thing. So, what kind of implication that's I think. There are a lot of conceptual and theoretical implication through this empirical finding, but I don't have that much time. So I will just mention three. The first big difference is that the relationship between digital media and politics changed the way political communication being practiced all over the world, but also in Indonesia. So yes, it was kind of marketing, but it was more like political communication was propaganda, right? Currently, what we've seen is not propaganda per se, but it is political communication is marketing politics, which is there is a shift between controlling the message to branding personalization is working through affect, right? Emotion, personal ability, which is very fit with social media, how social media work as a tool for corporations. So between politics and marketing, where data, segmentation, and targeting become the big language, that's what happened within political practices, political communication practices in Indonesia. Second, on the level of human level, is the role of, not the role of algorithm per se, but the role of interaction between human user and algorithm. And so social media algorithm, let's say, is a complex thing, is a complex algorithm, but essentially their underpinning typology is a sorting algorithm. So in which an algorithm that put elements of a list in numerical or lexicographical order. So the combination between sorting principle and it focused on targeted advertisement resulted in an algorithm that is biased toward the superlative. So as this sorting principle is applied to everyday interaction among social media users, so content that has superlative value is most likely to be pushed up the hierarchy of importance. So if it is in the middle, it's very hard to be visible because algorithm essentially help advertising, help companies to simplify the audience. The girls and boys, blue and pink. So that's why you have these two binary. The binary politic, therefore, become more extreme as they take place, the discourse take place in social media. And then sort of like creating this kind of algorithmic enclaves, which is a discursive arena where individuals, afforded by their constant interaction with algorithm, interact with each other and collectivize based on a perceived shared identity online. Usually, they think because they have a common enemy rather than similarity in terms of ideology and thoughts and opinions and interests. So the third one is the way control and people collectivize. This is about power relation. This is in the pre-social media, right? It's the linear, right? It's like two. There is a state and authority, traditional, and then you have control. But what we see it in the what we see here is we see in the social media, we see the rise of bottom-up distributed network of proliferation of surveillance watching from below, which is good sometimes, right? Because this surveillance culture suggests the citizen will be better able to keep tabs on the activities of those in power. However, such a social trend also could manifest as vigilantism, and moreover, facilitating the emergence of network panopticon. So the bottom-up, all-seeing, many eyes that put citizens as watchmen to control the behavior of other citizens, sometimes on behalf of the authority. And so this changed the way we see this thing. So I'll put everything together here. Like I said earlier, there are still activism, a lot of activism we see. And then they have democratic ideal. Or this, having said that, as you take it on social media, you kind of like trapped within that the binary, trapped within the schematic algorithm that is so schematic that is actually facilitate division, exclusionary algorithm enclaves, and you also trap in the modes of that digital grassroots fandom that seemingly have more leverage. They have more power within, which is of course helped by cyber trolls, cyber bot, micro celebrities, and other things. This is kind of explain this one is gonna explain what's going on, why we see what we have seen. That's why nationalism, populism become prominent. And here I'm not saying that this is bad, except this is just, I'm being pragmatic to see this is what's going on. So there are hope, like I said, there are the digital grassroots activism, there are hope, there are youth, there are justice movements, there are feminist movements, they're working. But we also have to keep in mind that they are working in the environment as well. They are not free from the constraint that is happening, not only because of social media per se or algorithm per se, but because of the interaction, right? And a longitudinal interaction and shaping of the politics within this platform. I have 0 seconds. Exactly 20 minutes. Okay, that's the end of my. Thank you so much.
Well, very nice presentation, yeah, from Professor Melina Lim. I think this is the second time I listened to her wonderful presentation, yeah, and I still, to be quite honest, some of her thoughts were still puzzle for me. But well, okay, that would be the end of Melina Lim's presentation, and also now we enter the question and answers session. We actually already ran out of time because the schedule is until 5 or 15 or 17 here, yeah. But we can of course have some time to have a discussion. Not necessarily question and answer, but if you want to share your thoughts about Melina Lim's presentation or my presentation, you are very welcome. Are you still with me? Mbak Nina looks like wants to say something.
Not exactly. Well, I quite agree with the suggestion that that internet and social media are like two-sided knife that can be beneficial for the democracy to strengthening the democracy and it's easier for the people to express, to protest, to criticize the government, for example. But there's always a but. The political elite, they also learn how to take advantage of the internet. So especially actually they can take advantage of the manipulation, how they take advantage of their power, and now they have a modern tool to like regaining the authority, their power to repress.
Yeah.
So I think it's only how they find the new tool. But interest is just the same.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you for sharing your thoughts. Yeah.
Sir, can I ask you something also, sir?
Yes. Hello. What do you want to
Yeah, I want to say just about the presentation today. Yes, about the democracy in Indonesia through the internet connection and so on. Yesterday, for example, we talked about like at the last part, talk about the human phone mentioned a lot about the freedom of expression and how the correlation with the democracy today. We all talk about the organ system, how the authoritarianism grow in Indonesia. But my question is, in order the regime, even the more despotic regime like the Kim Jong-un in Korea, not live without consensus. I mean, if there are at least one part of the population of Indonesia support the oligarchy. Between democracy and oligarchy, they choose oligarchy because it's not this the oligarchy will collapse. It's a known part of support will down. So my question is, it is it is the pure democracy in Indonesia won't, or for the government is not important also in the future make a democracy. Because also if you compare with SBSPY in all the history Indonesia it was not fully democracy at all. And because Indonesia is not a secular country like Europa, for example, I mean you cannot express your liberty of freedom or religious, or you cannot say I don't believe in Indonesia. Also in your ID you cannot say. And I don't understand when they say democracy can help yes, the internet connection can help democracy, but in other way can make worse Indonesia. It was happening 2 years ago when the election was Jokowi then the SBY, and there was a big manifestation, and a lot of people started to to share posting pro-government. It was the chaos. It was the time in Jakarta. There was like a block of WhatsApp for stop the message between the people. And what ask myself?
Hello. I think 2 years ago was Jokowi and Prabowo, right? No.
Yes, sorry. And so my question is, it is the democracy style good for Indonesia? I mean, it is good or not? I mean, it is what the people want or not?
To democratize Indonesia. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I think before I answer the question, or I not answer, yeah, but give comments, I think I would like to summarize, some of the points from Madeline Alim, which is one of them is the internet is double sword, yeah. It can be good and it can be bad, yeah. Depends on the people who use it. If we want to make it very simple, yeah, even though Madeline Alim always protested that. To ask whether internet supports or discourages, or hinder democracy is a simplification. That's a wrong question, she said, yeah. But if we don't start from there, then where do we start? I think sorry. I think she actually I know what she means. Actually, she wants to level up our debate, yeah, into a further issue, but I think that would be the entrance, yeah, the big question. And she also suggested that actually she's quite critical, yeah. She's consistent, I think, if we remember her work in 2002, in which the idea of double sword was already presented by Madeline Naya about internet was supporting democracy to push a Suharto regime, the authoritarian one, to resign from power. But after the Suharto era, the jihadists used the internet for their political purpose, for their identity, for their extremism ideology, yeah. And by the time she introduced the latest concept about algorithmic enclave, and that's a very important one too. Okay, now I will. I think Marina only give comment, yeah, and I agree with you that it's double sword tool, yeah. And to Elo, I would like to, yeah, whether people want democracy or not in Indonesia, it depends on you ask this question to who. If you ask it to me, then I want democracy, right? And I think the participants of this, if we did survey to the participants of this forum, I think they will all agree to democracy. My reason why I agree democracy, because I don't want to wake up in the morning and realizing that I cannot do anything. I can't make any change. I cannot protest when something bad happening to the country. So democracy is a system that gives chance to us to do something. If we refer to the concept of James Robinson and Darul Acemoglu, then democracy gives a chance for the society to challenge the oligarchy. Even though the society, the civil resistance was quite weak, yeah, today. Referring to Melina Lim, she said, or she argues that actually that's not really grassroots. That's what she said, right? You remember in her presentation. We don't really have the real grassroots. We have so actually what's interesting from Melina, she's also criticizing the people actually, yeah, people who live in this their own in their own bubble, in their algorithmic enclaves, that fostering strengthening the identity politics, that imagining they themselves as part of something but excluding others. That's also criticism from her, I think. Yeah. Miss Marily, you open your cam. Perhaps you want to say something. What do you think about the presentation of Melina Lim, and how do you compare it with the case of Filipina? Do you think?
Actually, Professor Rija, I have a question. First of all, thank you very much, Professor Rija, for your presentation and for introducing Professor Lim's presentation a while ago. My question is for you and the other speakers who are present here right now. So while I do agree, I very much agree with the argument that there is no definitive answer on whether internet enhances democracy, while the answer is very much prevalent in the global north. In cases in the global south, wherein you have states, strong states, who are very much capable of using social media and the internet as a weapon to silence the opposition, the centers who are capable of, states who are capable of manufacturing public opinion and expanding propaganda online. My question is, what can scholars of social media give to community organizations, grassroots organizations? What practical suggestions can you give given this kind of context, given this kind of enemy? Basically, beyond our theoretical discussions, what suggestions can we give?
Yeah. Okay, that's also a very nice question. Yeah, that's because I'm actually I consider myself as part academic and also part activist. I am academic in DIPONEGORO University, but also I'm a LP3S researcher, and we built many initiatives actually. That's why we collaborate here with Mas Damar Juniarto. Yeah, perhaps Mas Damar, Mas Amang, are you here? Perhaps Mas Amang will be able to help me when answering the practical level activity, because Damar is doing exactly the practical thing through the SafeNet. But I will answer your question about practical suggestions. So wait, before I go there, your question reminds me to the question of the audience written in the inbox, yeah, the chat room. Perhaps as to Putri Wilujeng, do you want to ask the question directly, perhaps here? So I will answer together with the, or as comment together with the question from Marielle.
Okay.
Yeah, could you please introduce yourself first, S2? Where are you? Where you're from? What are you doing now?
My name is S2. I'm from Universitas Indonesia, Department of Sociology. I would like to ask about the Leviathan things. You have presented that some country can do the Leviathan things, like China, and then like UK has different direction. And then when and what is the precondition that a country choose to deflect the opinion, and how do we know if the issue is deflection or not?
Okay.
So the second question is, I would like to ask about the digital inequality divide and digital grassroots activism. Besides digital grassroots activism is none or less about the presentation. If we want to build digital grassroots activism, can we face the government that always accumulate their power in the digital space? Like from time to time, like maybe in the early 2000s or in the Preta case, they're not more powerful before the political election. They're not too concerned about the opinion in social media, but in the political action, like Jokowi Ahok, they're more concerned about the buzzer and etc. Then how digital grassroots activism can survive to face the state that consistently accumulate the power? I think that's the main questions. Thank you.
Okay, so you can see, there's some similarity, some parallelism between the comments from S2 and also Marielle. So basically, it's about the what's the implication, or why is it happening, the divide. But first, I would like to go to the question about how do we know if the issue is deflection or not, or perhaps to be more precise, how do we know whether when an issue is propaganda or not? Yeah, if the issue raised in the internet is actually an online manipulation of public opinion, or a public propaganda that is manufactured by cyber troops. I've done a research about it with my colleagues. Yeah, some of them are here, some of the researchers in the last 1 year about it to learn about cyber troops and computational propaganda. So one of the indicators that we can find in the internet to identify that this is actually an online propaganda was when the conversation the first is when the conversation suddenly in a huge rise. You know, sometimes in the internet, in the case of Indonesia, for instance, approaching the revision of the law on anti-corruption body, KPK, there was a conversation in the Twitter suggesting that with the hashtag, and the hashtag saying KPK was connected to the Taliban. The hashtag was KPK and Taliban. Yeah, and the conversation in Twitter in 1 week was almost was more than 500 million. So 500,000. So 500,000 conversation in 1 week. So sudden emergence of a narrative in social media usually happened. Usually an indicator, one of the indicators of the deflection, issue deflection, or public opinion manipulation, in my term. Yeah, and the second one was the content creation, like the hashtag KPK and Taliban, and also pictures, meme. Yeah, sudden emergence of meme pictures to direct public opinion. The third indicator was actually we found it by doing research, by interviewing who are behind the accounts. So we in our research we did combination of social media analysis and also digital ethnography and also classical ethnography. Classical ethnography means when there was a post by, for instance, account like Bajuan Swantara or Trio Macan, back to the old days, or the Gembo FC nowadays, we try to figure out who were the people behind these accounts, who did this, because very often there was a fake accounts, in the Twitter, right? So we try to interview them. We try to figure out who are they. And interestingly, when this kind of propaganda, online propaganda happened in the internet, the media amplify this. The media covered this. For instance, in the case of KPK, the media, mainstream media wrote about there was an issue, a rumor that the anti-corruption body, the Indonesian anti-corruption body was the place of the extremism, but it was then denied by the KPK leaders, right? But still, the news was there, and massive, hundreds of them. And in the theory of agenda setting, we learned that the media, the mass media, are always successful in directing our attention to something. Perhaps they are not always successful to convince us to agree on something. However, they are always successful in directing our attention to that issue. It means in the case of KPK, perhaps we all the Indonesian public not always agree that KPK is the place of the extremism, but at least we discussed this issue in those days. And in the theory of propaganda, when people talk about something over and over again, and people tend to start to believe on that thing. So people tend to believe that KPK was indeed the place of extremism. So this actually reflects to your second question to Melina Lim, I will answer as well, that imbalance of power. There was an oligarchic power. They have all the weapons. They can pay people to do this kind of postings, right? The cyber troop was paid. The better term for this is cyber mercenary. Cyber troop is pasukan siber. Cyber mercenary adalah pasukan siber bayaran. Mercenary is mean paid, So they were paid. They have a team. They have professional content creator, right? They can post massive tweets on the Twitter, while people like Anita Wahid, people like Alisa Wahid dan Didi, perhaps they can challenge that narrative, but they're a real person who can post 500,000 tweets in 1 week. If you're a real person, it's impossible for you, even though you are addicted to social media, that you post something 500,000 in 1 week. It means 100,000. It means around 70,000 posts. I will ask Putu how many posts you can do in social media in 1 day. 1,000? Is it possible for you to post 50,000 a day? That's not possible, right? But if you have money, if you have power, and you have political interest, you can ask people to post that a day. So in a way, actually, the internet makes the oligarchs become more powerful, while the citizens were left, and they were attacked by the buzzer as well. And they were in Indonesia, information and technological information law, to make it simple, that can send people to jail if you were considered as posting the wrong thing, posting hoax. There were many cases about it. I have the book with me, in which some of the journalists were sent to jail because of that. I think this book was written, edited by SafeNet. Then I will come to the question from Mariela. So what can we do? What can I suggest to the civil society for this? I would like to tell you a real story, in which in 2019, I was part of the academics who signed the petition with other academics in Indonesia to reject the revision of the anti-corruption body, the law on the anti-corruption body, because in my view it just weakened the anti-corruption body. However, so we were united in a WhatsApp group, yeah. However, the member of the WhatsApp group was hijacked. Some of the admin was the WhatsApp was hijacked, and they suddenly spread the news that they were private message, yeah, that they were supporting the revision. And I got so many phone calls from foreign number from all over the world to my cell phone for like a couple of days, and it happened to all of the academics joining this movement. So that's another threat to the digital democracy in Indonesia. I'm writing the article about it right now. So what I would like to say is that we need an advocacy, yeah, for this. This forum is part of doing that, yeah. And there will be a session about toolbox for digital safety for social media activists in Sunday, right? That will be the practical thing. So we're actually, to answer Marielle, we're actually that practical thing, one of them, yeah. And also we have to enhance digital literacy to journalists as well, because if you know, as I was illustrating to you, if the journalists keep amplifying the tweets from the cyber troops, then you can see that the cyber troops will win the public opinion manipulation, and they will manipulate the public opinion effectively. So the journalists have to be aware. I think my fellow here from Kompas, they were actually already critical, but many news in Indonesia, they simply write again what's trending in the Twitter. Yeah, Twitter, the trending topic in the Twitter was in Indonesia, yeah, become the source of news, online news. So they only amplify what happens in social media. So if the social media full of hoaxes, full of hate speech, then the news, the media coverage will be full of hate speech and hoax too, right? Because of the journalism culture as well. And in a way, it's because of the interest of the media to, you know, to pursue a clickbait journalism. So what's trending in the internet, they just wrote it so people will read it, even though the content was actually rubbish, for instance, yeah. And also that will be my suggestion to journalists and to Indonesian citizens. I suggest not to, you know, we have to enhance the digital literacy of the people, so they were not easily directed by the public opinion manipulation by some fake accounts in the Twitter. Yeah, so they were aware about it. That would be some of the practical suggestion that I give to the journalists, to the activists, yeah, to the people in general. And also it's important for activists like me, yeah, to build a network. So if you're alone, you're easily beaten by your political opponent, yeah? Because we are very critical and we criticize the regime a lot. Sometimes the power holder don't like it, and if we have a network, so then when a case happens to an activist, for instance, there will be some other activists that will do the advocacy, that will support him. That's also very important. There will be some of my suggestion, I think, political suggestion with regard to the question from Marielle. Damar Juniarto was not here, yeah. I think he's more into the practical advocacy, yeah, than me actually. Maybe later on he will also tell about it. And this kind of book, yeah, is also important. And the book is documenting the criminalization of ordinary people that was sent to jail because of they are seen as violating the information law, well, actually they're not. They were just being criminalized. And they published their story in this book, and this book was then sold for, you know, for fundraising, and I bought 2 of them to support the fundraising. I hope Mas Amang knows about it. I think he knows. Okay, so that would be my answers. Most welcome, Marielle. Is there any comments or question?
May I elaborate your answer? I'm sorry. Give it back.
Okay, sure.
Okay. I am interested about digital literacy, and my question is, how is digital literacy can be useful if someone already have some belief, like in the case of Trump supporter, they already have I belief, and then if we give any information or anything about what the bad side of Trump, it doesn't useful. I'm sorry, it isn't useful any at all. Then how digital literacy can help that situation? Thank you. I'm sorry for the things.
So you're questioning about how digital literacy can promote democracy. Is that what you mean?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. Or why is it important? Yeah.
No. How it can how digital literacy still useful if someone already have some belief on something.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Yeah. I think the most important part of digital literacy is critical thinking. So digital literacy doesn't mean that we know internet or we know something. Not just that. It's about critical thinking actually. So in the heart of digital literacy is critical thinking and being critical to the internet itself, to the content of social media, to identify whether it's a fake news or not. Of course, people maybe have some set of belief, but I think if people really learn about it, I believe that it will impact, because it's like an idea. It's like, you know, in the movie Inception. Yeah, did you ever watch Inception movie? Right, that's a very beautiful movie. I think I watched it so many times. I watched it in movie 2 times, and in in my TV cable so many times. It's about when an idea actually entering someone's minds. At least it will force him to think whether like it or not. Yeah, and he or she will reflect about it. So to make it very simple, for instance, I have a student in my class. Yeah, so I have a class entitled Digital Politics here, or Media and Democracy. When they enter the class, they don't know how to recognize whether it is a good news or not, whether the news has a standard of journalism or not, whether the content in Facebook is actually trustable or not, whether an account in Twitter is actually trustable or not, right? In the end of the session, they become different person, yeah, after 1 semester, for instance, yeah. So I believe in the power of dialogue, yeah, in discussion, just like Habermas, yeah, the discussion, it will create, it will lead to rationality as long as those who are involved in the discussion are sincere and honest about themselves and their thoughts. So to answer it very shortly, if you want to make people realize about it only by sharing WhatsApp as well to him or to her, maybe it doesn't impact a lot. But if you interact with him or you interact with her and you have a dialogue with him, then I believe it will lead to digital literacy, such as a forum like this. All of the participants of this forum, I think, will be a different person in the end of the session, in the end of the course, in the end of the two weeks courses, and I will be a different person in terms of the way of thinking, or as a result of reflection about it. That will be my take on it, Esther.
Thank you.
Most welcome. Yeah, Gabriel give comment here, systematic in agenda terms and strategic action ones. You want to say something, Gabriel? Okay, no. Is there anyone
Yes,
else?
I can try. Sorry, I was late to push the buttons, to find the buttons.
Oh,
And
okay.
I'm feeding the baby,
Wanna...
I'm feeding the baby, so I am quite late. But yes, systematic in agenda terms, it means what do the people in action want to achieve, and how can they combine their different categorical claims, for example. And in strategic action, it is how to struggle with the problem. For example, in the case of authoritarianism, we know that the ruling elites have strong connections between them. They marry their daughters and sons, they meet at festivals and balls, they rule for elections, they campaign for elections, they make tickets, they have a social life behind the mere electoral agenda or the mere governmental action. So for the activists, one of the challenges is to do the same, to be strategic in action. Who will share the information? Who will act at this moment? Who will do the networking? And it is quite rare to find that in large networks of activist groups. In a small scale, it's easier to do that. We can mention, for example, the multi-action, multi-movement, multi-alliance, who tries to do that beyond transnational borders, but there are rare initiatives. And I think it's an important fact to do this kind of strategic, systematic work. And one of the proof is that the ruling elites know that, and it's why one of the main political strategy is to divide to rule. So it was what I meant in strategy, going systemic.
Yeah, I think that's a very good point. Yeah, and I remember that I need to add something. Yeah, that I forgot to Marielle. You know, in some of cyber troops, the power holders they were successful to manipulate public opinion because they could create massive contents. Yeah, in short time period. Yeah, like 500,000 in 1 week, right? That's massive with using hashtag. Civil society, if they could manage, yeah, they can organize themselves. Perhaps they can do the same, just the same, yeah. If you are alone, then you're not able. But you bring a large crowd with you, lots other civil society activists with you. Perhaps together you can do something. Together, perhaps you can do as much as contents and narrative in Twitter to challenge the tweet from the cyber troops, for instance. So it's very important to build coalition, not just with society in Indonesia, but also across the country. I think that's why we have this forum today. We hope to build alliance one day with friends, colleague in Philippines like you, in Thailand, yeah, in other countries, in part of the world. So that would be it. Mr. Taufan, Mas Taufan, perhaps you want to say something?
Yeah.
You suggest that we are committing to utilize social media and era to promote democracy. Yeah, I agree with you. Elite did better than us. That's exactly the point. You want to say something, Mr. Taufan?
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Vijay. I really enjoy your presentation and your talk. Both speakers were wonderful and and explain better about Indonesian today. I just want to emphasize why you did explain a while ago that I think we are competing with elites to utilize digital media and digital era to promote democracy in Indonesia, because of course Indonesia based on Indonesian context today, indeed we really need democracy. We really need to more advanced democracy, because it's really our country is really let me say truly bad in terms of many things, based on LP3S research that Indonesia now under a setback democracy. So that's why we need to challenge today by utilize media and maybe to make a bridge between middle class and the grassroots, because this is the problem, because grassroots and middle class suffer from fragmentation. We are not really solid to challenge the elites. At the same time, elites utilize many resources, and of course they utilize ex-activists. Let me say truly that they utilize activists that very smart, elite very smart and very powerful, and they utilize resources to depoliticize people and grassroots and middle class, to silence us, very beautiful, very softly. So that's why I truly agree that yeah, maybe we need to compete to utilize digital media to challenge elites. That's I think my comment, Mr. Vijay. Thank you.
Thank you. That's I guess a wonderful comment, yeah, Mr. Taufan. Gabriel, you want to say something? Gabriel,
yes, of course. Thank you, Taufan, for mentioning class-based issues, because it's also very important to address the problem, because the people who are using digital repression are the people in power, and they are headed by a very small proportion of elites, a very small number. And in France, for example, there are famous sociologists, like Monique Pinson and Charlot, who did investigation among the ruling elite in France, like a few hundred of people who possess 70% of the richness of the country, and they show with ethnographic work how these people talk together, make strategies, and they go to the same schools, they follow the same studies, and again they marry their sons and daughters, they have family and business interests together. So they form a class, and after the Marxist struggles around the world, and after the Cold War, there was an effort of America and then the dominant countries in the world to deconstruct this rhetoric of class, telling that if you talk about class, you are a complotist, or you are somebody who has no finesse in your political analysis. But they form a class. I don't know if we form a class together, you, me, Wija, but they form a class. And it is important to identify it, so we know against what kind of power we are struggling, and we don't abstract also what happens in the digital world. It's not as abstract as it sounds. It's really concrete. It's particular people with a very specific interest behind what happens. So we have to identify it. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Gabriel. I think that's a very great point. And we actually already ran out of time, 47 more than for the schedule. But I think it's a fruitful discussion, yeah, with many very good questions and also comments. Thank you everyone for the today's session. So I will give the screen back to Pak Gulam.
Okay. Thank you, Pak Wija. And I think because it is very interesting presentation and discussion. However, I believe that some of the participants or co-hosts already have a different kind of agenda. So yeah, hopefully for the next session, we will have much better Q&A. Just a softly reminder to all of the participants regarding the session that we have, that I'll try to share hopefully. Oh, I think I cannot share. Just gently reminder about the admission, because so far we just got 56 out of 73. So if you find some problem or difficulties on doing the admission, please just contact me. And I don't know, for the presentation, maybe Pak Wija will distribute later on for the presentation.
I will share.
Yes. Okay. Any other conclusion, Pak Wija?
I just want to make sure that you come tomorrow, because tomorrow will be a great session about digital Leviathan from Kusito Ambardi. We're only 2 days and we still have so many interesting session and wonderful presentation and insightful discussion. I will not want to miss it. I believe that you don't want to miss it too. See you everyone tomorrow.
Okay, thank you. That's the end of the session for today, and hopefully that all of you are well. Thank you and bye.
Bye-bye.